Hey guys, tonight we journey back in time to a world where the desert sands are dotted with forgotten wonders, and the air seems to hum with ancient secrets. Imagine the warm breeze brushing past your face as you step into the heart of a civilization whose grandeur and mystery have captivated us for millennia. But what if I told you that one of Egypt's most powerful pharaohs, known for their monumental achievements, also dreamt of something entirely different: machines that could change the course of history? You probably won't survive this journey without feeling the weight of ancient ambition bearing down on you. The idea that a king of stone would dream of creating living, working machines may sound far-fetched, but the evidence left behind suggests this might be more than just myth. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop a comment with your location and the time you're listening, curious where this dreamer's tale reaches. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. In the warm golden expanse of Egypt's desert, nestled between the towering pyramids and the flowing Nile, a dream was quietly taking shape in the mind of one of the most powerful pharaohs to ever rule. He was not the sort of ruler you would think of when you imagine kings commanding armies and building empires. This pharaoh, a young and ambitious monarch, had something far more extraordinary in mind. While his people toiled on the land and erected magnificent structures in his name, this ruler gazed at the horizon and envisioned something that would transcend stone and sand, a kingdom not just built by human hands, but powered by machines. Historians still argue whether this vision was ever more than a dream, a fantasy of an imaginative king, or whether it was a genuinely serious ambition backed by a team of innovators in his court. But if we dig deep into the ancient texts and uncover fragments of forgotten blueprints, one thing is clear: this pharaoh's ideas of mechanical wonders would echo through time, a vision that would resurface in the minds of modern engineers and inventors centuries later. It wasn't just about building larger monuments or ruling a kingdom. No, this was a ruler who dreamt of turning the natural order into something mechanical, a world where things moved, worked, and even thought for themselves. What if his machines could help Egypt grow stronger, faster, and even more powerful? Would they be the ultimate tool for the pharaoh to reign supreme over the land and beyond? The dreamer we're speaking of is none other than Pharaoh Amenhotep II, a ruler from Egypt's Middle Kingdom, whose reign is often overshadowed by the legends of his predecessors. While Amenhotep II is typically remembered for his military campaigns and the building projects that cemented his rule, there's a quieter, more fascinating aspect to his reign: his obsession with machinery. As a ruler in an era where the Egyptians were masters of monumental architecture, geometry, and irrigation, it might seem a stretch to think he could have also had an eye on the future on machines that could mimic human or animal work. But in the heart of ancient Egypt, the line between myth and reality was often blurred, and the pharaoh's dreams may have been far grander than most could imagine. While the great pyramids and temples were symbols of human strength, Amenhotep envisioned machines that could defy the limitations of human labor. Was he perhaps one of the first to conceptualize devices that would seem at home in the Industrial Revolution? Historians are still unsure whether his designs were more than just scribbles on parchment, or if they were the seeds of something much more ambitious. Let's take a step back and imagine the world Amenhotep would have lived in. This was a time when Egypt's people had mastered complex systems of agriculture, flood management, and metallurgy. Temples stood as testament to the god's power and the pharaoh's divine right to rule, while grand tombs were built for those who passed from the mortal world. But Amenhotep wasn't satisfied with just being a ruler in a kingdom of physical power. He wanted to lead a kingdom that thrived not just by strength, but through the brilliance of invention. Some believe he saw the mechanized potential in everyday life, how it could be harnessed to make agriculture more efficient, transportation smoother, and even combat more effective. Picture this. On the banks of the Nile, workers could turn large gears, roll massive stones without human labor, or even create devices that mimic the animals that pulled their carts and plows. Machines that were not powered by the strength of human backs, but instead by the cleverness of mechanical engineering. Could it be possible? But just how real were these visions? Ancient hieroglyphs sometimes depicted strange contraptions, devices that look remarkably like early versions of the things we now take for granted, like bicycles, levers, and even to some, the very concept of automation. Scholars have pondered over these drawings for centuries. Some suggest that Amenhotep's ideas were symbolic, part of the grand religious and ideological ideations of the time. Others believe that these could be preliminary steps toward something greater. To complicate things further, the very ideas of machines in ancient Egypt raise interesting debates among historians. Some argue that these depictions were symbolic, tied to religious or ceremonial practices. After all, the Egyptians were no strangers to myths involving gods who created mechanical beings or wielded machines to manipulate nature. Regardless of the debates, it's clear that Amenhotep's dreams were bold and ahead of his time. The questions surrounding whether his mechanical visions ever became more than mere blueprints or philosophical musings are still a mystery. But imagine, for a moment, what it would have been like for the king of Egypt to look at his vast empire and dream not just of conquering lands, but of conquering time itself through the machines that might one day rule his kingdom. As we stand in the shadow of the pyramids, it's easy to think of the Egyptians as solely architects of stone and sand. Yet, in the quiet recesses of Amenhotep II's mind, the grandeur of Egypt was not only about monumental constructions, but about the potential of a mechanized world, one where automation and invention could serve the royal court. The concept of mechanical devices in Egypt may have sounded far-fetched, but the tools they used in their agricultural systems were already a form of early engineering. The ancient Egyptians, with their deep knowledge of geometry and material science, had created tools and innovations that would be the envy of the ancient world. From the simple water wheel used to lift water for irrigation to the pulleys used to haul massive stone blocks for the pyramids, they were already employing rudimentary forms of mechanics in their daily lives. Could Amenhotep's dreams have extended this logic? Could he have envisioned something more than just a plow or water wheel? Something that would operate without the constant input of human labor? One of the most compelling pieces of evidence that Amenhotep's visions were more than mere pipe dreams lies in the reports of a curious project built during his reign. It was said that a temple was erected, but not just any temple. This one was different. The temple was equipped with mechanical devices designed to assist in the rituals. Historians and archaeologists still argue over the nature of these devices. Were they merely ceremonial, a way to impress the gods, or did they represent an early form of automation? In this context, it's not difficult to imagine a vision where the pharaoh, surrounded by the elite engineers and craftsmen of Egypt, looked beyond the temple walls and saw a future where machines were not just tools, but partners in the work of the kingdom. Could these devices have helped Egypt manage its empire on a scale far beyond what was even imagined in the ancient world? Historians still argue whether Amenhotep's ideas were ever fully realized. The ancient sources are vague and sometimes contradictory. Some historians suggest that these machines, if they existed, were small, simple devices, perhaps even designed for symbolic purposes rather than functional use. Others speculate that the pharaoh might have seen these devices as a means to reinforce his divine rule, as though the machines themselves could help maintain order in a land ruled by gods. Regardless of the debates, it's clear that Amenhotep's dreams were bold and ahead of his time. Think of it, a king sitting in his royal chambers, sketching out ideas for machines that could do the work of hundreds of men. Could this be the first inkling of what we now call the Industrial Revolution? A full 3 millennia before its time? The Egyptians had perfected the art of leveraging manpower, but could Amenhotep have been the first to dream of a world where machines replaced the need for muscle? Could this have been the pharaoh's desire to control time, labor, and even nature itself? If we believe the whispers that persist in ancient texts, he may have been closer to inventing a new world than we ever realized. But these ideas were not without their dangers. Imagine, then, that the very same tools meant to serve the people could also be used to exert control. If these machines could perform the work of thousands, who would have power over them? Would the pharaoh's machines become symbols of oppression instead of progress? These questions, though not fully explored in ancient texts, have led historians to consider the political and social ramifications of Amenhotep's mechanical dreams. Could his innovations have brought about a new form of governance, one where machines held as much sway as kings? Ultimately, the question remains, did Amenhotep too truly dream of machines? Were the mechanical marvels that historians have speculated about mere fantasy? Or was this pharaoh truly the visionary precursor to the world we know today? Perhaps we'll never know the full extent of his plans, but as we look at the vast accomplishments of ancient Egypt, it's clear that the seeds of innovation were planted long before the industrial age. As we continue our exploration of Amenhotep II's remarkable vision, let's delve into the hidden corners of ancient Egypt, where strange and wonderful things might have existed, concepts that now seem too advanced for their time, yet were a part of this ruler's grand ambition. Among the incredible feats of Egyptian engineering, one thing remains clear. The ancient Egyptians were not just masters of stone. They were curious minds, inventive and resourceful. It's not hard to imagine that, in Amenhotep's time, engineers and artisans who had already invented complex systems for agriculture, construction, and transportation might have been inspired by his ideas of machines. One such area where Amenhotep's innovations could have taken root was in the realm of the religious temple. The temples were not only places of worship, but also of astronomical observation, spiritual connection, and even, as some suggest, places of experimentation with mechanical devices. It is said that Amenhotep II's reign saw the introduction of mechanical elements in sacred rituals devices that mimicked the movement of the stars, the flowing of the Nile, or the powerful animals that served the gods. But what were the limits of this mechanical vision? And perhaps most importantly, why didn't these inventions come to fruition on a grander scale? Historians have long debated whether Amenhotep's mechanical dreams were cut short by the political climate of his time. Egypt was a land steeped in tradition. Each stone was carved with centuries of divine symbolism, and to challenge that established order by introducing machines may have seemed too revolutionary for the people. Would the concept of machines that could replace human labor have been seen as disrespectful to the gods, who were believed to have given the pharaoh divine power to govern? The pharaoh's reign, though marked by early success, was fraught with internal challenges. There were political factions and rivalries within the court that could have easily stifled any attempts at drastic innovation. Some scholars even suggest that Amenhotep's focus on mechanizing aspects of daily life might have alienated his closest advisors, or even the priesthood, who saw their power tied directly to the existing order. However, the dream of machines in ancient Egypt wasn't confined to just Amenhotep. There are rumors, which historians are still digging into, that suggest the ideas of mechanical technology spread across generations. Could Amenhotep have been a trailblazer whose ideas, passed down through royal circles and temples, inspired later pharaohs to continue experimenting with machinery? Perhaps not to the extent we imagine today, but in small, secretive ways. A quiet legacy of mechanical exploration may have persisted in Egypt long after Amenhotep's time. Another fascinating possibility lies in the realm of Egypt's advances in engineering, particularly their understanding of water mechanics. Could he have envisioned machines that would automate the irrigation process, allowing the fields to be watered without human intervention? Historians still argue whether these grand ideas were ever more than speculative, designs dreams that were never fully realized. Were the drawings of such devices simply symbolic of a desire for innovation, or were they genuine attempts to create something that could stand the test of time? In this light, Amenhotep II's reign begins to look like a bridge between ancient Egypt's mastery of physical materials and a future that might have been governed by the gears and cogs of machines. His dreams, however fleeting, may have been ahead of their time, laying the groundwork for the technological revolutions that would follow millennia later. But what if the pharaoh's ambitions had been fully realized? Would Egypt, with its vast wealth and influence, have been the birthplace of the world's first mechanical revolution? Could Egypt's technological advancements have reached the scale of the Industrial Revolution, centuries before anyone had even dreamed of steam engines and automated factories? These questions remain speculative, but they speak to the timeless allure of Amenhotep's mechanical vision one. That challenges us to imagine a world where Egypt's power came not just from stone and sand, but from the quiet hum of machines working in harmony with the land and its people. As we continue to reflect on Amenhotep II's fascinating vision for a mechanized Egypt, we step deeper into the realms of the unknown. The more we consider it, the more we begin to see a ruler whose ambition extended far beyond what his contemporaries could have imagined. His dream of machines, like so many dreams of history's great visionaries, may have been far too advanced for his time. Yet, in that very gap between dream and reality lies the beauty of his ambition, a desire not just to rule, but to reshape the fabric of Egyptian society itself. We often think of ancient Egypt as a place of monumental stonework, where human labor was the foundation of civilization. But Amenhotep's concept of machines was far more than the simple mechanics of the lever or pulley. He was, in essence, dreaming of the Industrial Revolution, even as his people were still firmly grounded in the world of the pharaohs. Imagine for a moment how the transformation of Egypt could have unfolded had these ideas been fully realized. Imagine an Egypt where machines helped with everything, from farming to temple construction, and even the logistics of governance. This brings us to one of the more curious aspects of Amenhotep's potential mechanical revolution, its connection to religion. In ancient Egypt, the divine and the earthly were inseparable. Every aspect of life was intertwined with the gods, and the pharaoh was seen as the living god who bridged the human and divine realms. Would a pharaoh's dream of machines have been accepted by the priesthood, whose power was built upon ritual, ceremony, and above all, divine authority? Could mechanical devices, no matter how beneficial, have been seen as a challenge to the gods' power? Perhaps that's why the pharaoh's mechanical visions remained hidden from the public eye. Could the use of machines in religious rituals have been seen as a sign that humans were attempting to take divine power into their own hands? Many argue that Egypt's complex system of rituals, which required divine intervention and manual labor, would have struggled to accommodate such a radical shift. Historians have pondered the existence of such machines for centuries. Was it possible that they were used on a small scale, in secret, away from the eyes of the priesthood and the masses? Could these symbols be pointing to something far more advanced than we can comprehend? The idea that the pharaoh's mechanical wonders might have been part of a larger secret tradition, hidden from view to avoid upsetting the delicate balance between politics and religion, is one that continues to intrigue scholars. Moreover, the speculation surrounding Amenhotep's mechanical vision leads us to consider one of the most pressing questions in the study of ancient civilizations. How much more advanced were the Egyptians than we realize? Yes, we know they mastered monumental stone architecture, but they also had a sophisticated understanding of mathematics, engineering, and even the concept of time. Could their advancements have reached further into technology if given the right circumstances? It's here that we find another interesting layer of Amenhotep's potential contribution to history: his obsession with time. The Egyptians were masters of creating systems to track the stars, the seasons, and the cycles of life, and they applied this understanding to everything, from agriculture to building structures aligned with the cosmos. Could Amenhotep have envisioned a world where time was not just a natural force, but something controlled by human-made machines? If he could create mechanical devices that could help manage time, would he have revolutionized agriculture even further? The idea of a machine that could manage the flooding of the Nile, for example, would have taken away the unpredictability of the seasons, allowing Egypt to prosper in ways we can only dream of today. But this leads us into another tantalizing possibility. Was Amenhotep's vision of mechanical devices more aligned with the spiritual side of Egyptian life than we assume? Imagine a machine built to communicate with the gods, or perhaps a mechanical oracle that would provide answers to the pharaoh in times of crisis. Could this have been a symbolic link between the pharaoh's worldly concerns and the divine? In a world where the gods played such an integral part in daily life, machines might not have been seen as enemies to the divine, but rather as tools to bring divine wisdom into the everyday world. Even as we imagine this future that might have been, we must acknowledge that the pharaoh's dreams were not just personal ambitions. They were aspirations for the future of Egypt, visions that could have changed the way an entire civilization operated. These inventions were not just about automating tasks or making life easier. They were about ensuring Egypt's future stability, prosperity, and dominance over time. Amenhotep II may have been one of the first to realize that true power didn't just lie in building monuments of stone, but in the ability to create systems that could operate without human effort, systems that could make life more efficient and bring lasting wealth. Was Egypt truly on the cusp of a mechanical revolution? Did Amenhotep's vision live on in the ruins of his reign, only to be buried by history, swallowed by time and politics? As we reflect on these possibilities, we cannot help but wonder how the pharaoh's dream of machines could have altered the course of history, not just in Egypt, but for the entire world. Now, as we peer further into the mysteries of Amenhotep II's mechanical dream, let's dive into the heart of the matter. Why didn't his inventions leave more of a lasting impact? How was it that a civilization so advanced in so many fields, from architecture to medicine, seemingly failed to transform into a more industrialized society, especially when a pharaoh was so clearly fascinated with machines? To understand this, we need to consider not just the physical constraints of the time, but the cultural and religious forces that shaped Egypt's path. It's easy to imagine a court full of skilled craftsmen and engineers who could have brought Amenhotep's mechanical ideas to life. Some scholars suggest that there were just too many layers of tradition, too much reverence for the old ways, to allow for the kind of technological shift that Amenhotep envisioned. Egypt, in its grandeur, was rooted in tradition, and the rise of machines might have threatened the established social order. To understand this, let's step back and look at Egypt's social and religious structure. The people lived in a world where gods ruled over every aspect of life. The idea of humans attempting to control nature through machines might have been viewed as sacrilegious or, at the very least, dangerous. The priesthood, which held immense power, was deeply entrenched in the belief that the gods were responsible for the forces of nature. Machines that could manipulate these forces, such as those that could control irrigation or harness power, could be seen as tampering with divine will. In a society where religious authority and divine right were central to political stability, any disruption to the natural order could have been viewed as a challenge to the gods themselves. Furthermore, Egypt's focus on monumental architecture, which served both as a symbol of royal power and a means of communicating with the divine, left little room for smaller, more practical inventions that could change daily life. The pharaoh's grand projects, like the construction of temples and tombs, took precedence over any kind of technological innovation that might serve the masses in a more practical sense. The focus on massive, everlasting structures intended to serve as connections to the afterlife may have left little space for more ephemeral inventions, like mechanical devices that might not have aligned with the eternal nature of the pharaoh's image. It is also possible that Amenhotep's mechanical visions were simply too advanced for his era. The Egyptians had an incredible understanding of materials and geometry, but they lacked the industrial tools to create the machines that Amenhotep dreamt of. Without the ability to mass-produce metal components or harness the power of steam, any complex machine would have been exceedingly difficult to build. His ideas, though innovative, may have simply been beyond the reach of the technology available at the time. But let's also consider another possibility. Did Amenhotep's innovations live on in a way we've yet to discover? Could his vision have sparked ideas that were simply too far ahead of their time to be realized in his own reign? It's possible that the knowledge of mechanical devices was passed down through secretive channels guarded by the priesthood or hidden within sacred texts, their designs waiting to be discovered millennia later. Imagine, if you will, that the very ideas Amenhotep once scribbled in his private chambers were passed down through generations, perhaps influencing later inventors and engineers, even if they never fully understood their origins. Some historians argue that this is, in fact, the case. They suggest that the concept of mechanical machines in ancient Egypt was not completely lost, but rather lay dormant, quietly shaping future technological advances. There are some who point to the later achievements in the ancient world, such as the Antikythera mechanism, a device thought to be an ancient Greek analog computer, as evidence that earlier, forgotten inventions could have influenced later technological developments. Could the seeds planted by Amenhotep have sprouted in places far removed from Egypt, carried across the Mediterranean and beyond, influencing the minds of later inventors who could bring his dreams to life? Perhaps these ideas, once forgotten, slowly bloomed in the minds of Renaissance thinkers, who would go on to shape the course of the Industrial Revolution. As we examine these possibilities, we can't help but be reminded of how innovation often works in fits and starts, sometimes taking centuries to fully come to fruition. Perhaps Amenhotep's dream of machines was the starting point for something much larger, something that wouldn't be fully realized until the advent of steam engines and industrialization. Even in the quiet deserts of Egypt, where the sands cover forgotten tombs and ruins, there might be a deeper history of invention, an echo of a time when a pharaoh dreamed of machines that could change the world. At the end of the day, we may never know the full extent of Amenhotep II's mechanical vision. What we do know is that his story represents something far more profound than just an ancient ruler with big ideas. His dream speaks to the timeless human desire to shape the world around us, to control the forces of nature, and to build a better, more efficient future. Whether or not his inventions came to life during his reign, the fact that his vision still resonates with us today is a testament to the power of human imagination and the potential to transcend time itself. As we step back and reflect on Amenhotep II's grand vision for a mechanized Egypt, we can begin to understand the broader implications of his dreams that seem so ahead of their time, yet may have been too grand to realize. His ambition to harness the power of machines to not only serve the state, but to elevate Egypt into a new era of efficiency, innovation, and divine mastery is a testament to the boundless potential of human creativity. But there's something deeply poignant about these ideas too. In many ways, Amenhotep's vision mirrors the aspirations of countless dreamers throughout history, men and women who dared to imagine a different world, only to have their dreams left unfulfilled by the constraints of their time. The question that lingers, though, is how close Amenhotep really came to realizing his ideas. Were these dreams simply the musings of a visionary ruler who, faced with the challenges of governing a vast and powerful kingdom, sought to apply the principles of mechanics and innovation to the very fabric of Egyptian society? Or were they the beginnings of a revolution that would have reshaped not just Egypt, but the world as we know it? One of the more fascinating aspects of Amenhotep's mechanical ambitions is the question of legacy. Even if his inventions never fully materialized in his lifetime, could they have planted seeds in the minds of those who followed him? History has shown us time and time again that the greatest ideas often take time to come to fruition, sometimes lying dormant for centuries before they are rediscovered and realized by future generations. Perhaps Amenhotep's mechanical dreams lived on in the minds of Egyptian engineers, who, centuries later, might have passed down stories of the pharaoh's vision. Consider for a moment the story of Archimedes, the ancient Greek mathematician and inventor who created some of the earliest known machines that could lift water, move ships, and even destroy enemy vessels. Archimedes' inventions, while incredibly advanced for their time, weren't widely used in his own era. It wasn't until later centuries that the full potential of his mechanical ideas began to unfold. Could Amenhotep II have been Egypt's own? Archimedes, a man whose ideas about machinery and automation laid the groundwork for future technological advancements, even if they were never fully realized during his reign? Perhaps Amenhotep's greatest legacy was not the machines he might have built, but the cultural shift his ideas inspired. In the years that followed his reign, Egypt would continue to evolve as a society. The pharaohs who succeeded him may not have embraced his mechanical vision, but they did inherit the culture of innovation and engineering that Amenhotep helped foster. It's possible that his belief in the power of invention seeped into the consciousness of Egypt's greatest builders, engineers and scholars, inspiring them to seek new ways of solving problems. Another critical piece of Amenhotep's dream is the connection between technology and the divine. In ancient Egypt, the gods were believed to control every aspect of life, from the rise of the sun to the flooding of the Nile. The idea that machines could be used to serve the gods, or even replicate divine actions, might have been both exciting and dangerous. Would it have been possible for the pharaoh to construct mechanical devices that not only performed practical tasks, but also embodied the divine? Could these machines have been seen as sacred instruments, tools designed to carry out the will of the gods? Or, more ominously, might they have been viewed as an attempt to replace the gods' power with human-made creations? The Egyptians were no strangers to symbolism and ritual in their mechanical and architectural works. The great temples and pyramids were designed not just to honor the gods, but to ensure that the pharaoh's divine power was acknowledged and sustained for eternity. Could Amenhotep have been working with the same spiritual purpose in mind when imagining his mechanical innovations? It's not hard to imagine a world where machines weren't just a means of labor, but conduits for divine power, facilitating communication between the pharaoh and the gods, or even performing rituals that would normally require human hands. In modern terms, we often see machines as tools of labor devices created to simplify our lives and reduce the strain of physical work. But in ancient Egypt, where the boundaries between the divine and the earthly were far more fluid, the idea of machines serving the gods might not have seemed so absurd. Perhaps Amenhotep's machines were meant to be sacred instruments, not just to serve him or his people, but to align Egypt's physical world with the divine realm. As we move deeper into the mysteries of Amenhotep's mechanical ambitions, we begin to see how his dreams might have reflected his desire to bridge the gap between humanity and divinity. In a world where kings were gods, where gods ruled over all aspects of life, perhaps the pharaoh saw machines as tools to bring the divine closer to the world of men, tools that could allow the pharaoh to wield the power of creation itself. If that was his vision, it was far more than just a simple desire for innovation. It was an attempt to redefine the very relationship between mankind, nature, and the gods. Could Amenhotep have foreseen a world where technology and divinity merged? Where machines, rather than competing with the divine, could serve to honor the gods in ways humans could not? His dream of machines, hidden in the sands of Egypt, might have been the seed of a new era, one where divine power was mirrored in human ingenuity. A dream that would have influenced not just Egypt, but the future of all civilizations to come. As we continue this journey through Amenhotep II's world, we must ask ourselves, if the mechanical visions he harbored had been fully realized, what kind of world would he have created? Imagine Egypt in the height of its power, not just as a land of stone and gold, but as a kingdom where machines were central to daily life. Could machines have been used to unlock Egypt's full potential, revolutionizing agriculture, communication, and even defense? What if, instead of massive stone constructions, the technology of automation had been integrated into the very fabric of Egyptian society, changing the course of history forever? The more we explore Amenhotep's ambitions, the more we see how they resonate with the broader human desire to control the natural world. Throughout history, rulers have sought to harness the forces of nature to bend them to their will. The Egyptians had already mastered the Nile and the vast deserts surrounding their civilization. They had systems for irrigation that would inspire engineers for centuries, and monumental architecture that left the world in awe. But what if their most powerful tool was not just their human strength, but the machines they dreamed of creating? What if their technology had evolved in ways that mirrored the industrial revolutions that would come much later? One of the most intriguing aspects of Amenhotep II's dream was the idea of machines being used to manage and control time. Egypt, with its deep understanding of the stars and the movement of celestial bodies, had an advanced knowledge of astronomy. Could Amenhotep have imagined a machine that could chart the stars with greater precision, using mechanical instruments to track the movement of planets and the cycles of the Nile? After all, the Egyptians were experts in aligning their monumental structures with the stars. Could the pharaoh's mechanical machines have been designed to work with the heavens themselves, serving both a practical and divine purpose? The Egyptians were not unfamiliar with complex tools. After all, the precision with which they cut and placed massive stones during pyramid construction is nothing short of miraculous. But Amenhotep's machines would have been more than just tools. They could have been the dawn of a new era in which Egypt's society operated as a seamless blend of divine will, human craftsmanship, and mechanical ingenuity. Such ideas, though buried in the sands of time, hint at the possibility that Amenhotep might have seen himself not only as a king on earth, but as a ruler in the heavens, able to manipulate the forces of nature through the power of machines. There is something deeply poetic about the idea that Amenhotep's machines could have been symbolic of the ultimate control over the world both earthly and divine. Imagine machines that weren't just powered by human or animal labor, but by a combination of forces that could transcend mere mechanics. Could the Pharaoh have dreamed of devices that mimicked the divine process of creation? Could they have been designed to move in perfect harmony, just as the stars and planets moved in the heavens? However, this ambition was not without its dangers. The more power a king holds, the more susceptible he becomes to internal threats. If Amenhotep had started to implement such advanced technologies, especially ones that blurred the line between human and divine control, would it have led to political unrest? Would the people have seen these machines as an attempt to replace the gods themselves? In a kingdom where the divine right of the pharaoh was unquestioned, the introduction of mechanical devices that performed the work of gods could have been seen as a direct challenge to the established order. The very idea of machines taking over sacred duties might have sparked rebellion, not just from the priesthood, but from the people themselves. It's also possible that the technology Amenhotep envisioned wasn't just a tool for power, but a tool for control. After all, a pharaoh who could harness the power of machines would hold incredible sway over his people. In a kingdom that had such a rigid class structure, the introduction of machines that could replace human labor could have shifted the balance of power. Who would control the machines? Would it be the king, the priesthood, or the people themselves? These questions would have created a complex web of social and political challenges that might have overshadowed any technological advancements Amenhotep hoped to achieve. The secrecy surrounding Amenhotep's mechanical dreams may have been an intentional decision to protect both the technology and his position as ruler. By keeping his machines hidden from the public eye, he could have prevented his enemies from using the machines against him. It's easy to imagine the pharaoh's court, where his closest advisors and the brightest minds in Egypt worked in secret, trying to bring his mechanical visions to life. These men and women would have been sworn to secrecy, perhaps even bound by oaths to protect the inventions that could have changed Egypt forever. Perhaps the machines Amenhotep envisioned were not meant to be seen by the public at all. In a world where divine authority was paramount, the pharaoh's mechanical innovations might have been intended for private use, hidden away in royal chambers or temples, where only those who held the keys to power could understand them. They may have been symbols of the pharaoh's divine connection to the gods, tools used to bring him closer to the heavens and, ultimately, to secure his eternal place in the afterlife. But whether Amenhotep's machines were ever created or not, his legacy lives on as a reminder of the potential for invention and imagination, even in the most unlikely of times. In a world where the line between the divine and the earthly was often blurred, Amenhotep's dreams show us that the true power of innovation lies not in what can be achieved, but in what might have been, what was imagined in the heart of a visionary pharaoh, long before the industrial revolutions of modern history. In the quiet chambers of the pharaoh's palace, where the air was thick with incense and the sound of scribes' pens scratching against papyrus, Amenhotep II's vision for the future could have seemed almost out of place. The great Egyptian empire, known for its monumental constructions, agricultural prowess, and deep spiritual connections, was a world deeply rooted in tradition and the divine. The idea of machines' mechanical creations that could perform the work of both gods and men was something that could easily have seemed both revolutionary and threatening. Despite the absence of any definitive proof that Amenhotep's mechanical dreams were fully realized, there are hints that his ideas were not entirely isolated or eccentric. His reign was one of great political and economic stability, and this would have provided him with the resources to pursue ambitious projects. It's possible that Amenhotep's mechanical ambitions were viewed as part of a broader, royal strategy to enhance Egypt's strength, not just through its vast armies, or strategic alliances, but through the very power of invention. However, as we consider the potential for technological progress in ancient Egypt, we must also understand the balance the pharaohs had to strike between maintaining their divine image and embracing new ideas that could challenge the very foundations of their rule. A crucial question remains: were the innovations Amenhotep envisioned truly mechanical, as we understand them today, or were they more symbolic? Could the machinery he dreamed of have been more mystical in nature, akin to the magical constructs the Egyptians often placed within their temples? Could they have been not just tools, but sacred objects, blessed by the gods to perform divine work? This is a line of thought that continues to divide historians. Some suggest that Amenhotep's machines were magical in nature, imbued with divine power to serve the pharaoh in ways that were beyond mere human engineering. Perhaps his vision was to craft devices that could move and work in ways that mirrored the god's power, with the machines acting as vessels for divine will. On the other hand, there are those who believe that Amenhotep's plans were much more pragmatic, that he simply foresaw the potential of technology to make life more efficient for his people. Could the machines he envisioned have been designed for more utilitarian purposes, such as improving the productivity of agriculture or easing the construction of Egypt's monumental structures? The simple fact that the Egyptians were capable of such impressive feats of engineering, think of the Great Pyramid of Giza or the vast irrigation systems that fed the land, suggests that Amenhotep may have been on the cusp of realizing something much more advanced than the technologies of his time. But the challenges to bringing these dreams to life were numerous. The greatest of these, perhaps, was the political and religious climate of Egypt. Machines, especially those that could replace human labor, might have been seen as a threat to the social order. In a society where labor was often tied to spiritual and social roles, the introduction of machines could disrupt the delicate balance of power that the pharaoh had established. The people of Egypt, who were already divided into strict classes, might have viewed these machines as an intrusion into the natural order, a step too far into an unnatural, mechanized world. After all, the Egyptians believed that their labor was a gift from the gods, and machines could easily have been seen as a sign of disrespect or even a challenge to divine authority. Despite these challenges, it's also possible that Amenhotep's mechanical ideas were embraced, at least in part, by a select few in his court. Imagine the craftsmen, artisans, and engineers who would have been tasked with bringing his visions to life. These individuals, who were already masters of complex architecture and stonework, might have seen Amenhotep's ideas as an opportunity to push the boundaries of their craft. If they were indeed tasked with creating machines, they would have faced the difficult challenge of working with materials that were primitive by modern standards. But the Egyptians had a remarkable understanding of metallurgy, hydraulics, and even early forms of the lever and pulley. Could they have applied these principles to create simple machines that operated autonomously? The idea of these machines is not as far-fetched as it might seem. While we tend to associate the concept of automation with the Industrial Revolution, the ancient world did have rudimentary forms of mechanical devices. Ancient water mills, windmills, and cranes were all based on principles of mechanical engineering that had been in use for centuries. If Amenhotep had envisioned more advanced forms of these devices, it's possible that his ideas were simply too complex for the technology available to him. But in the grand sweep of history, it's easy to imagine that his vision laid the groundwork for future technological advances that would come centuries later. As we consider the implications of Amenhotep's mechanical dreams, we also have to take into account the enduring power of Egyptian culture and the influence it had on the wider world. Even if his ideas were never fully realized during his reign, they would have inspired future generations of thinkers and inventors. Perhaps his mechanical vision echoed in the minds of later Egyptian rulers. Or maybe it inspired scholars in distant lands to consider new ways of using machines to solve everyday problems. The idea of mechanical labor, of creating devices that could work without human input, would become central to the technological revolutions that would eventually change the course of history. Amenhotep II's dream of machines was, in many ways, the dream of every great innovator throughout history. A dream to shape the world through invention, to use human creativity to transcend the limitations of the natural world. While Amenhotep may never have seen his vision fully realized, the essence of his dream lives on in the machines that power our modern world today. In that sense, his story serves as a reminder that the greatest advancements often begin as nothing more than dreams, waiting for the right moment to become reality. As we move deeper into Amenhotep II's dream of machines, it's impossible not to feel the ripple effects of his ideas that, though perhaps never fully realized in his time, set the stage for future revolutions in technology and industry. Amenhotep's dreams were not simply about creating devices for convenience. They were about reshaping the very nature of labor, power, and control. His ambition was to harness the forces of nature and human ingenuity to create a world that operated with precision, efficiency, and divine purpose. In many ways, he was trying to do what the greatest visionaries throughout history have sought to do, to unlock the potential of both the physical world and the human mind. But let's pause for a moment and reflect on the times in which Amenhotep lived. Egypt, under his rule, was a place of immense power, but also immense tradition. The pharaohs were seen not only as kings, but as gods on earth. The belief in divine right was absolute every aspect of the king's life. From his rule to his relationships with the gods was governed by divine will. So, when Amenhotep sought to build machines that could operate independently of human labor, it's easy to see how this might have been seen as something revolutionary, something that threatened the natural order. Machines that could replace human hands and animals, machines that could work tirelessly, might have been seen as something that would upset the divine balance between humans, nature, and the gods. Historians are still unsure whether Amenhotep's mechanical ideas were more symbolic than real. Could these machines have been part of his vision for a more harmonious Egypt, an Egypt where labor was not just about human toil, but about divine forces working through man-made devices? Could these machines have been a way to bring the gods closer to the people, as divine manifestations of the pharaoh's power? Or were they simply pragmatic solutions to the challenges of an expanding empire, born out of necessity, but stifled by the constraints of time, resources, and tradition? One of the most interesting aspects of Amenhotep's reign is the blending of the divine and the mechanical. Egypt was a civilization where everything had spiritual significance, and even the most mundane objects were seen through the lens of the divine. The tools used in daily life, the structures built to honor the gods, and even the machines, if they were indeed created, could have been seen not just as technological advancements, but as sacred instruments imbued with divine power. It's easy to imagine that the mechanical devices Amenhotep envisioned could have been meant to serve the gods in ways that were far beyond mere practicality. Perhaps they were designed to replicate or even amplify the divine energy that the pharaoh was believed to possess. However, the practical challenges of creating such machines in the context of ancient Egypt cannot be ignored. While Amenhotep's engineers and craftsmen were undoubtedly talented, the technology required to create true automation was far beyond the reach of their time. The Egyptians had mastered the art of building massive structures with precision, but creating machines that could operate without human intervention required advances in metallurgy, power sources, and materials that simply didn't exist in Amenhotep's era. And yet, there is something deeply compelling about the idea that Amenhotep might have been the first to envision a mechanized future. If the machines were indeed too advanced for his time, could they have been the beginning of a legacy that would influence future generations? After all, the seeds of innovation are often planted long before they come to fruition. Just as the ancient Greeks and Romans paved the way for the Renaissance, so too might Amenhotep's ideas have inspired those who came after him. In fact, some historians suggest that the dream of mechanical devices didn't die with Amenhotep. His ideas may have been passed down through the generations, hidden away in secret libraries, or passed on by word of mouth. The priesthood, with its vast knowledge of Egypt's rituals and technologies, might have kept these ideas alive, perhaps in the form of religious texts or scrolls that were never meant to be seen by the public. Perhaps his successors, though they may have been more focused on military campaigns and maintaining Egypt's power, were influenced by the ideas of a pharaoh who dreamed of a kingdom powered by machines. Even more intriguingly, could Amenhotep's ideas have influenced later civilizations? Egypt's influence on the ancient world was immense, and it's possible that the idea of automating labor through mechanical means could have traveled beyond the borders of Egypt. The ancient Greeks, who were already developing early forms of mechanical devices, such as water clocks and rudimentary machines, could have drawn inspiration from Egypt's forgotten mechanical legacy. Similarly, the Romans, known for their engineering marvels, may have incorporated some of Egypt's early ideas into their own technological advancements. But for now, the truth of Amenhotep's mechanical dreams remains shrouded in mystery. Did he truly envision a world where machines performed the labor of thousands, or was this merely the fantasy of a ruler who saw the potential of technology but lacked the tools to make it a reality? What we do know is that his dream, whether fulfilled or not, was part of a larger cultural and intellectual legacy. His reign marked a time of great possibility, where the gods and machines could have been intertwined, and where the future of Egypt could have been shaped not just by human hands, but by the power of mechanical ingenuity. As we let this idea sink in, we can't help but wonder what could have been. What if Amenhotep's dream had been realized, and Egypt had been the birthplace of a mechanical revolution? What if machines had been used not just for convenience, but as instruments of divine will, tools that allowed the pharaoh to transcend human limitations and harness the power of the gods? In a world where the boundaries between the physical and the divine were so fluid, Amenhotep's dream of machines may have been the first step toward a world where humans and machines coexisted in a way we are only now beginning to understand. As we consider the echoes of Amenhotep II's dreams in the present day, it's easy to see how the ideas of a pharaoh obsessed with machines transcend time. While Amenhotep may not have been able to bring his mechanical dreams to fruition in his own era, his story challenges us to think about how even the grandest visions can take root in ways we don't immediately see. What if the essence of his vision, the desire to shape the future with human ingenuity and mechanical power, lives on, hidden in the myths of Egypt's past, influencing everything from the construction of the Great Pyramids to the scientific revolutions of later civilizations? The central idea of Amenhotep's mechanical dream machines, replacing human labor, might not have been fully realized in his time, but the idea certainly traveled beyond his reign. It's hard to ignore the seeds of his ambition that can be found in later developments across the ancient world. While Egypt's practical technological applications were often more focused on enhancing agriculture or large-scale construction projects, could Amenhotep's interest in automating labor have inspired thinkers in Greece and Rome, where the concept of automaton creations, machines designed to perform tasks, began to emerge centuries later? Imagine the impact of Amenhotep's ideas on a broader historical canvas. If his ambition for mechanized labor had found fertile ground in later centuries, would it have changed the trajectory of technological development? The Romans, for instance, had an incredible grasp of engineering. Some of their earliest machines, such as the watermill, were simple but effective solutions to labor-intensive tasks. Could Amenhotep's unseen influence have given rise to even more advanced devices, ones that predated the great thinkers of the Renaissance? Perhaps the history of technology would have unfolded much earlier, opening the door to the Industrial Revolution long before the 18th century. But of course, the historical record doesn't tell us this story. Instead, we have to rely on our imagination and the tantalizing fragments that hint at Amenhotep's mechanical ideas. The real question isn't whether Amenhotep's machines were built. It's what his ideas represented in the grander scheme of human progress. The dream of machines has always been a part of the human story, from the earliest tools to the modern marvels of automation. What Amenhotep dreamed of might not have been entirely original. After all, humans have always sought ways to make life easier and more efficient. But his dreams were undoubtedly a precursor to the kind of technological thinking that would define future civilizations. Even the way Amenhotep is remembered today speaks to the enduring power of vision. He is not just a king whose reign contributed to Egypt's monumental architecture and military successes. He is the pharaoh who, in the quiet recesses of his royal court, dreamed of machines that could change the world. In this sense, Amenhotep represents every inventor, every visionary who looks at the world and asks, what if? It's the hallmark of humanity to imagine beyond what is possible and to strive toward something greater. And sometimes, even if we can't reach that distant future ourselves, our dreams plant seeds in others that will eventually grow into something extraordinary. And in many ways, that is the true legacy of Amenhotep II. His dream, though unfulfilled, serves as a reminder of the power of human imagination. He looked at the world and saw it not just as it was, but as it could be. His vision was not restricted to the limitations of his time. He looked beyond the stone and sand, past the gods and the rituals, to a world where machines could do the work of both man and nature. His dream, one of mechanical wonders, was a harbinger of the future, a future that may have been just too far ahead of its time. As we reflect on Amenhotep's reign and his visions of machines, we see the story of a king who dared to imagine a different world. Whether or not he was able to bring his mechanical dreams to life, his legacy serves as a powerful reminder that innovation doesn't always happen in the moment. Sometimes the seeds of the future are planted quietly in the minds of those who dare to dream. We may never know whether Amenhotep truly built the machines he envisioned, or whether his ideas were lost to history, forgotten in the sands of time. But the fact that we are still talking about his dream today is a testament to the lasting power of vision. His story, the story of a pharaoh who dreamed of machines, is a story that continues to inspire us. It is a reminder that even the grandest dreams, the most ambitious ideas, are worth pursuing, even if the world isn't quite ready for them yet. Because in the end, it's those very dreams that shape the world we live in today. As we reflect on Amenhotep II's mechanical dreams, we find ourselves at a crossroads between myth and reality, between what might have been and what came to pass. His ambition, though unfulfilled in his lifetime, has the power to stir the imagination and provoke us to think about the trajectory of technology, not just in Egypt, but across human history. How different might the world have been if Amenhotep's machines had come to life? Could they have set the stage for a kind of industrial revolution in the ancient world, where mechanical innovation was as integral to society as the monuments of stone that define Egypt's legacy today? Perhaps Amenhotep's greatest contribution wasn't the machines themselves, but his ability to dream of them. In a world where kings were revered as living gods, his ability to imagine a future where humanity could harness the power of machines was nothing short of revolutionary. Amenhotep's ambition showed us that technology has always been intertwined with power. The pharaoh's dream of machines was not just a desire for convenience. It was an attempt to push the boundaries of what humanity could achieve, to expand the kingdom's influence, and to strengthen the pharaoh's divine rule. Think about it. Egypt, with its rich history of engineering, already had a deep understanding of the mechanics of nature through irrigation, architecture, and the management of the Nile. But what if Amenhotep had succeeded in creating the very machines that could automate the work of thousands, freeing the people from their manual labor? The pharaoh might have found himself not only ruling a kingdom, but presiding over a society where the very labor force was liberated by the power of invention. Could this have ushered in a new era, one where human potential was no longer tied to the labor of the body, but to the creativity of the mind? There's a certain poetic irony in this. While the Egyptians are renowned for their monumental achievements in construction, from the Great Pyramids to the temples of Karnak, we tend to overlook the quieter ambitions of their rulers, their dreams of building not just physical structures, but structures of thought and innovation. Amenhotep's vision of machines may have been ahead of its time, but it reflects a fundamental aspect of human nature, the desire to transcend our limitations, to create a world where human ingenuity replaces human toil. It's a dream that continues to resonate in our modern world, as we too seek to build machines that can carry out the work once done by hand. But of course, we must also acknowledge the challenges that Amenhotep faced. The political and religious structures of ancient Egypt were built upon a deep reverence for tradition and the divine. The pharaohs were seen as gods, and the act of creation itself was considered divine work. Would Amenhotep's machines have been seen as divine, or would they have been viewed as an affront to the gods, an attempt to bypass the natural order? A priesthood, who held immense power, might have opposed these mechanical innovations, viewing them as a threat to their control over the spiritual life of Egypt. In a society where the divine was woven into the very fabric of daily life, could machines have been seen as an intrusion into sacred spaces? As much as Amenhotep dreamed of machines, his dream also highlights the complexities of progress and innovation. New ideas are often met with resistance, particularly when they challenge long-standing traditions and beliefs. Amenhotep's machines, if they existed, could have revolutionized Egyptian society, but they also could have been a source of tension, even conflict. The question remains, would the people of Egypt have embraced the future he envisioned, or would they have rejected it in favor of the stability and security of the past? As we look back on Amenhotep's reign, we're left with more questions than answers. Did he truly create the machines he envisioned, or was his dream simply that an aspiration that never came to fruition? If these machines did exist, were they part of a larger cultural shift toward innovation, or were they lost to time, buried under the weight of Egypt's traditions? What we do know, however, is that Amenhotep's ideas have not been forgotten. They live on in the legacy of Egyptian engineering and in the imagination of those who look back on this ancient civilization and wonder what might have been. In the end, Amenhotep II's dream of machines serves as a powerful reminder that progress is never linear. The path from the ancient world to the modern age is filled with false starts, detours, and forgotten innovations. But the seeds of progress are planted by dreamers like Amenhotep, those who dare to imagine a world different from the one they know, and those whose dreams continue to inspire generations long after their time. Whether his machines were ever built or not, Amenhotep's legacy endures, showing us that the true power of invention lies not in the technology itself, but in the ability to dream of what could be. So, as we close the chapter on Amenhotep's vision of a mechanized Egypt, let us reflect on the power of imagination and how the greatest innovations often start with a single dream, one that challenges the status quo, pushes the boundaries of what's possible, and shapes the world for generations to come. As we come closer to the final steps of this journey through Amenhotep II's dream of machines, it's important to consider what such a story means for us today. Ancient Egypt, with its majestic temples, towering pyramids, and complex society, has always captured our imagination. But amid these grand structures, Amenhotep's vision of a world powered by machines stands as an odd, quiet challenge to the traditional narrative of ancient civilization. It's a challenge that forces us to rethink what ancient societies could have achieved, what they might have been capable of, and where the seeds of technological progress were planted, often in the most unlikely of places. What makes Amenhotep's story so fascinating is not just the potential for his dream to have changed Egypt, but how it speaks to a larger, timeless human impulse, the desire to shape the world around us, to bend nature to our will, and to create something that transcends the limitations of human labor. The Egyptians had already accomplished extraordinary feats, from mastering the Nile's floodwaters to building structures that would stand for millennia. But what if they had moved beyond these human-powered feats, harnessing machines to build faster, more efficiently, and even autonomously? The legacy of Amenhotep II's mechanical dreams is not one of lost opportunities, but of inspiration. An inspiration that echoes through the centuries. Even if the machines he envisioned never came to life, his willingness to think beyond the present moment, to imagine a world driven by machines, laid the groundwork for the future. The idea that automation could one day replace human labor, allowing people to focus on intellectual, artistic, or spiritual endeavors, is one that would be revisited by thinkers, engineers, and inventors for millennia to come. We live in a world today where machines are integral to every aspect of our lives, from the smartphones in our pockets to the factories that produce our goods. The concept of a machine-driven world that Amenhotep dreamed of is now a reality. His ideas, though born in a distant past, resonate in the modern world. What began as a pharaoh's dream of mechanizing labor and controlling nature now finds echoes in the technological revolutions we see unfolding before us. In a sense, Amenhotep's vision was not just about machines. It was about progress. It was about the desire to push the boundaries of what was possible and to reimagine the world through the lens of innovation. And perhaps the most enduring part of Amenhotep's legacy is this: the dream of using human ingenuity to transcend the natural limitations that once seemed insurmountable. Think about it. Egypt, with its incredible technological achievements, was already on the cutting edge in terms of architecture, agriculture, and engineering. But could it have been the birthplace of a more industrialized future? Could Amenhotep have, in his time, created a society that did not just rely on stone and muscle, but on machines that could automate the hardest tasks? Perhaps his dream was a seed that, while it may not have sprouted in his era, eventually found fertile ground in the minds of those who came after him. Egypt, with its mastery of geometry and engineering, could very well have been a cradle for the earliest ideas of mechanical automation, ideas that would be rediscovered and realized much later in history. As we continue to uncover and understand the history of ancient civilizations, it's essential to remain open to the possibility that some ideas, no matter how far ahead of their time, might not have been as impossible as they first appeared. Amenhotep's story reminds us that human ambition, ingenuity, and the desire to improve are timeless forces that continue to shape our world. Just because an idea is ahead of its time doesn't mean it will be forgotten. It may lie dormant for centuries, waiting for the right conditions to bring it to life. In that light, Amenhotep's dream of machines serves as a metaphor for the best parts of human nature, the drive to improve, to innovate, and to imagine a world different from the one we inherit. His story teaches us that even if we can't immediately see the impact of our dreams, those dreams can echo through history, shaping the future in ways we may never fully understand. Whether through the direct application of machines or the philosophical foundation of human progress, Amenhotep's ambition to merge divine authority with mechanical innovation has left an indelible mark on the world. As we reflect on this remarkable pharaoh, we are reminded that every advancement, whether in technology, culture, or society, begins with a dream. And sometimes, the most revolutionary ideas come from those who dare to imagine what others cannot see. Amenhotep II, though he may not have seen his mechanical world come to life, stands as a testament to the power of vision, the power of dreaming beyond one's time. So, as we prepare to close the chapter on Amenhotep's dream, let us consider the legacy he may have left behind, not in the form of machines, but in the form of inspiration. A dream that transcended time, a vision that was perhaps a little too far ahead for its age, but one that would echo through the ages, influencing inventors, thinkers, and dreamers long after the sands of Egypt had settled over his tomb. As we near the end of our journey into Amenhotep II's dream of machines, we can't help but marvel at the complexity of his vision and how it speaks to the timeless nature of human curiosity and invention. Though the ancient Egyptians are often remembered for their monumental achievements in stone, art, and astronomy, the vision of Amenhotep stands apart. His dream wasn't just about building towering structures or managing the river. It was about reshaping the very foundations of Egyptian society through technology. A dream of machines, working in harmony with the gods and the land, meant to make life easier, more efficient, and perhaps even more divine. But like many dreams throughout history, Amenhotep's vision might have been too radical for his time. It's fascinating to think about how his mechanical ideas might have altered the trajectory of Egyptian civilization if only they had come to life. Would they have made Egypt an even more dominant power, setting the stage for technological advancements that could have rivaled later industrial revolutions? Or would these ideas have faced too much resistance from the entrenched traditions of the time, where gods, not machines, governed every aspect of life? In ancient Egypt, as in many civilizations, the gods were the ultimate source of power and control. The pharaoh's divine role meant that his authority was inherently linked to the gods. In this context, Amenhotep's dream of machines might have represented a challenge to that divine order machines that could replace the hard labor traditionally carried out by humans, and even by divine servants like the gods themselves. For the people who lived in Amenhotep's time, could machines have been seen as an affront to the gods, an attempt to do what only the divine could accomplish? Yet, despite these potential barriers, there's something undeniably compelling about the idea that Amenhotep II's mechanical dreams were, in many ways, aligned with the ancient Egyptian desire for harmony with the cosmos. The Egyptians didn't just build to survive. They built to honor the gods, to bring divine order to the natural world, and to create a lasting legacy. It's not difficult to imagine that Amenhotep saw his machines as part of this divine plan, tools that could serve both earthly and divine purposes, making Egypt a perfect reflection of cosmic order. It's easy to wonder, with the benefit of hindsight, whether Amenhotep's mechanical dreams might have been too far ahead of their time. The challenges of creating machines capable of replacing human labor, especially in an ancient world where metallurgy, steam power, and advanced materials were unavailable, would have been immense. And yet, the very fact that his ideas survived, whispered in dusty scrolls and etched into the stone, speaks to the timeless nature of human creativity. When we look at the ancient world, especially Egypt, We often focus on what was built: the pyramids, the temples, the tombs. These physical structures seem to dominate the narrative, overshadowing the possibility that the Egyptians, like any other great civilization, may have also dreamed of a future that was powered by machines. The idea of mechanizing labor was not just a dream of kings, but a dream that resonates with all societies, from ancient Egypt to the factories of the Industrial Revolution and into the age of automation we live in today. Though Amenhotep may not have been able to fulfill his mechanical ambitions, his story challenges us to think about what we can learn from ancient visionaries. What if we too are living in an era where the dreams of today, dreams of machines that can help us build, create, and communicate, are still too radical to be fully realized? Perhaps it's not too far-fetched to imagine that some of today's technological innovations will take centuries to reach their full potential, just as Amenhotep's dream of machines took millennia to truly materialize in the form of the technologies we now take for granted. Amenhotep's dream represents the very heart of human ambition, the desire to not only build, but to create a world where the tools we make work for us, enabling us to transcend the limitations of our physical bodies and the forces of nature. It's a dream that has fueled every leap forward in human history, from the earliest tools to the cutting-edge technologies of the modern world. And just as Amenhotep's dream may have been forgotten by the majority, only to be rediscovered by future generations, so too might today's innovations inspire those who come after us to build upon our work in ways we can't yet imagine. Amenhotep's story is a reminder that the future is often shaped by the quiet dreams of those who dare to imagine a world different from the one they inhabit. Whether his machines were ever created or not, his ability to envision a world powered by invention speaks to the unshakable human desire to evolve, to improve, and to reimagine our place in the world. In that sense, his dream is not just about machines, but about the power of human creativity itself, an enduring legacy that transcends time and continues to inspire. As we close the story of Amenhotep II and his mechanical dreams, we are reminded that the greatest ideas often take the longest to materialize. Some ideas may need centuries to find their time, and some dreams are simply ahead of their time. But like all great visionaries, Amenhotep's story shows us that even the most ambitious dreams, no matter how seemingly impossible, are worth pursuing. After all, it's those very dreams that help shape the world we live in, even long after the dreamer is gone. As we come to the final stretch of our journey into Amenhotep II's dream of machines, it's time to reflect on what such a visionary idea truly means for us today. The world Amenhotep dreamed of, a world where machines freed humanity from the toil of labor, is not merely a fantasy of an ancient king. It's a dream that is closer to our reality than ever before. When we think about the incredible strides we've made in automation, artificial intelligence, and robotics, we can trace the very spirit of Amenhotep's ambition in our modern world. It's almost as though his vision, though centuries ahead of its time, has come full circle, landing us in an age where machines are not only working for us, but are beginning to shape our futures in ways he could never have fully imagined. While Amenhotep's dream might have been too ambitious for the tools of his era, the essence of what he envisioned, a world powered by mechanical systems that alleviate human labor, has now become a driving force in modern industry and technology. From the machines that automate factories, to the robotics that perform surgeries, to the algorithms that power our decision-making processes, we can see the remnants of Amenhotep's ancient vision playing out in real time. Just as he once dreamed of machines working in harmony with the land and the gods, we now see machines working in harmony with us, improving our lives in ways that were once thought impossible. There's something profoundly humbling in the realization that a king from ancient Egypt, who lived thousands of years ago, might have been one of the first to grasp the concept that technology could liberate humanity, that it could elevate society and free people from the burdens of labor. The automation that Amenhotep dreamed of, the kind that could power cities, manage irrigation, or even assist in construction, has in many ways become reality in our own time. But rather than just marveling at the fulfillment of his dream, we should take a moment to appreciate the incredible ingenuity and ambition that he embodied. And yet, Amenhotep's story also raises questions about the costs of such a dream. While machines hold the promise of efficiency, of eliminating repetitive and strenuous work, they also pose challenges. The automation of labor raises concerns about job displacement, about the impact of technology on traditional ways of life. Amenhotep's vision of a mechanized kingdom, though inspiring, might have come with its own social and political risks. Could Egypt's labor force have been displaced by machines in the same way that modern industries face the potential of automation replacing human workers? Would the political stability of the pharaoh's reign have been challenged if such changes had been implemented too rapidly? The dream of a mechanized world also raises fundamental questions about the role of technology in our lives. As we build more advanced systems, as machines take on increasingly complex roles, we must consider what it means for our humanity. In Amenhotep's time, machines may have represented the divine power of the pharaoh tools, created not just for practical use, but as instruments of the gods. Today, our machines are not just physical tools, but extensions of our very consciousness intelligent systems that can think, learn, and make decisions. How far can we go in entrusting machines with tasks once solely in human hands? And where do we draw the line between human ingenuity and machine autonomy? Even if Amenhotep's machines never took physical form, his dream lives on as a powerful metaphor of the human quest for progress. His vision of machines reflects the timeless human struggle to move beyond our physical limitations, to harness the forces of nature and the world around us for the betterment of society. But it's also a reminder of the complexity of such ambition and the need to approach innovation with caution and foresight. As we stand on the brink of new technological revolutions, AI, automation, and beyond, we must remember the lessons of the past. Technology has always been a double-edged sword, capable of both improving and disrupting society. What Amenhotep's story teaches us is that the pursuit of progress is a never-ending journey, one that stretches across time and generations. His dream of machines might not have been fully realized in his own era, but it paved the way for the technological revolutions that followed. The fact that we now live in a world where machines help us build, create, and communicate with unprecedented ease is a testament to the enduring legacy of visionaries like Amenhotep. It's not just the machines themselves, but the boldness of the dream that continues to inspire us. As we close the book on Amenhotep's dream of machines, we are left with a sense of wonder about the possibilities that still lie ahead. The future is full of unknowns, but one thing is certain: the drive to innovate, to shape the world with the power of human creativity, is as strong as ever. Amenhotep's story reminds us that the seeds of progress can be planted in the most unexpected places, and that even the wildest dreams can lay the foundation for the future. So as you drift off to sleep tonight, think about the legacy of Amenhotep and the dreamers who came after him. From ancient Egypt to the modern world, his story is a reminder that we, too, have the power to imagine a different world, a world where machines and humans work together to create a better future for all. May his vision inspire you to think big, dream bold, and never stop imagining the possibilities that lie ahead. As we reflect on the echoes of Amenhotep II's dream, we are brought face to face with the profound impact that visionaries like him can have on the course of history. Though his machines never materialized in the way he might have hoped, the essence of his dream remains with us today. His vision, rooted in a deep desire to improve the human condition and reshape the world, speaks to a timeless truth that the drive for progress is both universal and unstoppable. Whether or not Amenhotep's mechanical wonders ever saw the light of day, the fundamental ideas that fueled his dream have found their way into our own time, driving us forward toward new frontiers of technology and innovation. What is most striking about Amenhotep's story is not just the technological ambition, but the philosophical underpinnings of his dream. He didn't simply want to build machines for the sake of convenience or efficiency. His vision was about creating a new relationship between humanity and the forces that governed life. In a way, his dream can be seen as an attempt to take the divine power of the gods and harness it for the benefit of Egypt. By building machines that could operate autonomously, could be powered by nature, and could relieve the burden of human labor, Amenhotep sought to create a world where humanity was in harmony with the divine, not just in a spiritual sense, but in a practical, everyday way. This brings us to a deeper question. How far are we willing to go in our quest to control the natural world? In Amenhotep's time, the gods were believed to govern every aspect of existence. The pharaoh's role was to mediate between the gods and the people, ensuring that divine will was enacted. But what if, instead of merely invoking the gods' power, machines could be used to manifest it? Machines that could work tirelessly, feed the people, build the kingdom, and even facilitate communication between the divine and earthly realms. Amenhotep's dream was revolutionary in its ambition, not just to create tools, but to create a new world where technology was as much a part of the divine order as the rivers, the stars, and the gods themselves. In our modern age, as we grapple with the rise of artificial intelligence and automation, we find ourselves asking similar questions. What role do machines play in our world? And what does it mean to live in a society where machines are increasingly in control of more aspects of life? Just as Amenhotep imagined a future where machines might serve both human and divine purposes, we are now faced with the question of how far we can go in entrusting machines with power, whether in agriculture, healthcare, communication, or even governance. But with every new technological breakthrough comes a new set of ethical considerations. Amenhotep's dream, much like our own technological ambitions, was not without potential dangers. Could machines, if given too much power, disrupt the balance of society and religion? Could the rise of automation displace human workers, create social unrest, or lead to unforeseen consequences that we cannot yet predict? Just as Amenhotep's mechanical ideas might have been seen as a threat to Egypt's traditional power structures, we too must grapple with the political, social, and ethical implications of the machines we create. It's also worth considering how Amenhotep's vision fits into the broader theme of human progress. Throughout history, we have witnessed similar moments where seemingly radical ideas have been embraced and integrated into the fabric of society, often reshaping the world in ways that no one could have predicted. The advent of the printing press, the Industrial Revolution, the rise of the Internet, each of these milestones in history began with the dreams of a few visionaries who, like Amenhotep, saw the world differently and sought to change it. In many ways, Amenhotep's mechanical dreams are no different from the great inventions of later generations. His vision may not have materialized in his lifetime, but it set the stage for the very ideas that would later transform the world. As we look to the future, it's fascinating to think about how Amenhotep's vision of a mechanized world might have influenced future generations, how it might have inspired the great thinkers, scientists, and inventors of the ancient and modern worlds. If we trace the evolution of technology back through time, we find that each innovation builds upon the one before it, creating a continuous chain of progress. Perhaps Amenhotep's dream of machines, though not fully realized in his own time, laid the groundwork for future advancements in mechanical engineering, automation, and even artificial intelligence. So, as we close the chapter on Amenhotep's dreams, we are reminded of the enduring power of vision, how the dreams of one individual, no matter how ahead of their time, can ripple through history and influence the course of humanity. Amenhotep's mechanical vision is more than just the story of a king and his machines. It is the story of the human spirit itself, the spirit of invention, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of progress. In the quiet chambers of Amenhotep's palace, as the scribes wrote his dreams on papyrus, he might have believed that his visions were too grand for his time. But in reality, they were just right for us, in a world where machines are changing the way we live, work, and interact. Amenhotep's story is a testament to the timeless power of dreams, and how they shape the world in ways we can't always foresee, but that always move us forward. As we stand at the end of this journey, looking back at Amenhotep II's vision of machines, we find ourselves contemplating not just the ideas of a long-forgotten ruler, but the very essence of what it means to dream beyond one's time. Amenhotep's ambition, which may have seemed outlandish to his contemporaries, speaks to something universal, the drive to improve, to innovate, and to break free from the limitations that bind us. His dream of machines was not just about building tools for convenience, but about fundamentally reimagining the role of humans in the natural world. Machines, in Amenhotep's mind, could serve not only as labor-saving devices, but as instruments of power, tools that could connect the human realm with the divine, changing the very fabric of Egyptian society. Today, as we continue to advance in technology, it's easy to see how Amenhotep's dreams might have been the seed of something far greater. His desire to use machines to enhance Egypt's economy, to ease the labor of his people, and to align the kingdom with divine forces resonates with the very challenges we face today. The conversation around automation, artificial intelligence, and machine learning is one we have been having for decades now. But it is only in recent years that the potential for these technologies to completely reshape society has become more apparent. Just as Amenhotep might have seen machines as a way to harness power, so too do we grapple with the growing influence of technology and the power it gives to those who control it. In Amenhotep's time, technology was not about replacing people. It was about enhancing the capabilities of the society as a whole. His idea of machines wasn't necessarily to take away from human labor, but to increase the kingdom's power and reach. Today, we often talk about automation in terms of job loss. But what if we viewed it through the lens that Amenhotep might have, the idea that machines are here to augment human potential, to give us the freedom to focus on innovation, creativity, and ideas, rather than the physical labor that once consumed so much of our time? And as we reach the end of Amenhotep's story, it's important to ask ourselves how we, as a society, are responding to the same challenges he faced, how we are grappling with the balance between tradition and innovation. Just as the priesthood in Amenhotep's time might have seen his ideas as a threat to the divine order, we today must navigate the tension between technological advancement and the societal structures that we've built over centuries. The rise of AI, robotics, and automation brings with it not just opportunities, but questions that we must answer carefully about how we use these technologies, who controls them, and what kind of future we want to create. The dream of machines, whether in the era of Amenhotep or in the world we live in today, serves as a reminder that progress is not just about making things more efficient. It's about thinking deeply about how we want our world to function. Amenhotep's mechanical dreams weren't just about tools. They were about a larger vision for his people and his empire, a vision that sought to harmonize human labor with divine purpose. In many ways, we are still wrestling with that very idea, how to create a world where machines work for us, but don't dominate us, where progress is balanced with human dignity and values. Perhaps in the end, the most lasting legacy of Amenhotep II is not the machines that were never built, but the ideas that continue to inspire us today. His dream reminds us that innovation is driven not just by necessity, but by imagination, by the desire to push beyond the status quo and envision a better future. And as we look ahead to the challenges and opportunities of the future, we can take inspiration from Amenhotep's ambition to dream big, to look beyond the present moment, and to believe that even the most radical ideas can have a lasting impact. The power of Amenhotep's dream lies not in the machines themselves, but in the way they reflect the human spirit, the spirit of curiosity, creativity, and innovation. His dream may have been too advanced for his time, but it was not in vain. It sparked a chain of thought, an exploration of what is possible, and in doing so, helped lay the foundation for the technological world we live in today. Amenhotep's story, like all great stories of visionaries, reminds us that the ideas that shape the future often come from the most unexpected places. And it challenges us to continue dreaming, even when the world around us is not yet ready to embrace those dreams. As we close the chapter on Amenhotep II, we are left with the powerful realization that his vision, though perhaps never fully realized in his time, lives on in us. The drive to innovate, to shape the world with machines, and to improve the lives of our fellow humans is as relevant today as it was in ancient Egypt. Amenhotep's story reminds us that the greatest ideas, whether they are realized in our lifetime or not, are often the ones that change the world. So, as you drift off tonight, think about the power of your own dreams and the potential to create something that will leave its mark on the world, just as Amenhotep's dream of machines continues to echo through history. As we approach the final reflections on Amenhotep II's dream of machines, it's clear that the story of his vision is much more than just the tale of an ancient ruler's unrealized technological ambitions. It is a window into the timeless human quest for innovation, efficiency, and progress, a quest that continues to shape our modern world today. Amenhotep, in his dream of machines, sought not only to advance Egypt's physical prowess, but also to transform the relationship between humanity, nature, and the divine. He was trying to build a new kind of Egypt, one where the line between the gods and the people, the physical and the divine, could be blurred through the power of mechanical invention. While Amenhotep's machines may not have been realized in his time, the very concept of merging technology with spirituality machines as instruments of divine will remains a fascinating idea that reverberates even in our modern discussions around the role of AI and automation in society. Today, as we create machines that can think, learn, and act autonomously, we're again grappling with the question of how far we are willing to go in using technology to redefine human existence. Much like Amenhotep's vision, modern technological advancements raise important questions about autonomy, control, and the balance between human agency and the systems we create. In many ways, Amenhotep's dream mirrors the aspirations of innovators throughout history. It reflects the desire to use technology not just as a tool, but as a means of overcoming human limitations and reshaping society. His vision of a world powered by machines, where labor could be automated and the gods' work could be mirrored by human-made creations, speaks to a larger, almost philosophical question about the role of machines in human life. Are they simply tools, or do they hold the potential to change the very nature of our existence? We now live in a world where machines are an essential part of daily life. Yet the question that Amenhotep's dream raises, how far can machines be integrated into human life before they start to replace the very essence of what makes us human? is one we still face. The rapid advancements in artificial intelligence and robotics have made it possible for machines to take on more complex and nuanced tasks, from driving cars to diagnosing diseases. This brings us to a crossroads. How much can we entrust to machines? And at what point do we risk losing something valuable, our connection to the very essence of humanity? The concept of machines as partners in creation, a notion that Amenhotep might have espoused, remains relevant today. Could we design machines that not only perform labor, but also contribute to art, philosophy, or even spirituality? In the quest to integrate machines into every aspect of our lives, are we creating a future where humanity is supported, or one where our very purpose becomes outsourced to technology? As we move forward into an era dominated by automation, Amenhotep's dream challenges us to think critically about the role of technology in our lives and its implications for our future. His dream also calls us to recognize the fragility of progress. Just as Amenhotep's machines were never fully realized, so too can the grandest ideas of our time be thwarted by the limitations of the era in which they arise. Innovation requires the right conditions, technological, cultural, and political, for it to take root. While Amenhotep's dream may have seemed too radical for his time, the spirit of that ambition, looking beyond the present and imagining what might be possible, continues to drive us forward. As we consider Amenhotep's legacy, it's important to ask ourselves, what kind of legacy do we want to leave behind? The story of Amenhotep is a story of possibility, the possibility of reshaping our world, of bending the natural order to our will, of creating a world powered by invention and machines. But it's also a reminder of the responsibility that comes with such power. The machines we create today will shape the future, and just as Amenhotep had to consider the impact of his ideas on the divine and the social order, we too must think about the consequences of the technologies we are building. So, as we lay Amenhotep's dream to rest, we are left with the question of what lies ahead for us. What will the next generation of inventors, engineers, and dreamers create? What visions will they bring to life? And how will they balance the potential for progress with the need for ethical consideration? Amenhotep's story, though rooted in the distant past, remains timeless in its relevance. His dream of machines reminds us of the boundless potential of human creativity and the eternal drive to improve the world around us. As you drift into sleep, think of Amenhotep's vision not as a forgotten dream of an ancient pharaoh, but as an ongoing journey, a journey that stretches from the sands of ancient Egypt to the cutting-edge technology of today and beyond. In the quiet hum of the machines that fill our world, may we always remember the dreamers who came before us, and the dreams we are still trying to bring to life. May their visions inspire us to continue pushing the boundaries of what is possible, and shaping a world where innovation and humanity can coexist in harmony. As we near the end of Amenhotep, II's remarkable journey through history, it becomes clear that his dream of machines was far more than just a fleeting ambition. It was a vision that transcended his time, echoing through the ages and inspiring the future of technology and human progress. While his mechanical ideas may have been halted by the constraints of his era, they have left behind a lasting legacy in the collective imagination of humankind. Today, we are standing on the precipice of a new era, an era where the line between man and machine is beginning to blur in ways Amenhotep himself could never have imagined. In many ways, Amenhotep's dream is still unfolding. As we develop artificial intelligence, robotics, and advanced automation, we are slowly bringing to life the very vision he had for Egypt. His dream was about more than just creating machines to carry out simple tasks. It was about the integration of technology into every aspect of society, to the point where machines could serve both practical and divine purposes. Today, as we use machines to automate our work, enhance our understanding of the universe, and even to create art, we are echoing Amenhotep's belief that technology could enhance both human labor and spiritual expression. However, as we race toward this future, it's important to reflect on the questions Amenhotep's dream raises. If his vision had come to fruition in ancient Egypt, would it have led to a society where people were liberated from labor, or one where they became subservient to the machines they created? In modern times, as we integrate more and more machines into our lives, we face the same question. How do we ensure that technology serves humanity rather than replacing or diminishing the role of human creativity, agency, and connection? As we imagine the world Amenhotep might have envisioned, one powered by machines, we are reminded that the future is shaped not just by the technologies we create, but by the values we place on them. Amenhotep's dream was, in many ways, about power. The power of the Pharaoh, the power of machines, and the power of the divine. But as we move forward into our own technological revolution, we must ask ourselves how we define power in a world where machines are increasingly in control. Will we use technology to empower each other, to bring about equality, and to enhance our shared humanity? Or will we allow it to deepen divisions, reduce human agency, and diminish the value of human labor? In thinking about Amenhotep's mechanical dreams, we also recognize the incredible influence of Egypt's cultural and spiritual framework on his vision. His dream of machines was inextricably linked to the divine. Machines were not merely tools, but sacred devices that could bridge the human and divine worlds. Today, while our machines are no longer considered divine, we still struggle with the idea that technology should be used to elevate humanity, not oppress it. As we invent and deploy more powerful technologies, we must keep in mind the deep responsibility we bear in shaping them. Are we creating tools that will serve humanity's collective good, or are we building systems that could one day control us? Amenhotep's dream of machines also serves as a poignant reminder of the role of imagination in shaping progress. It is easy to dismiss ancient kings and rulers as living in the past, disconnected from the realities of our modern world. But Amenhotep's ideas were not of a primitive society. They were ideas that, in many ways, anticipated the technological revolutions that would come thousands of years later. His dream was a product of his time, yes, but it was also a forward-thinking vision of a world powered by human ingenuity. He was thinking about the future in a way that was revolutionary for his era, much as the great innovators of today are thinking about the future in ways that will shape the world for generations to come. As we look to the horizon, we must consider the impact of Amenhotep's legacy, not just as a ruler of Egypt, but as a visionary who dreamed of a world where technology could empower people, enhance spiritual life, and reshape society. In the pursuit of progress, we must continue to honor that spirit of bold vision, tempered with thoughtful consideration of the consequences of our inventions. The tale of Amenhotep II reminds us that the greatest advances are often those that challenge the status quo, the dreams that seem impossible in their time, and the ideas that dare to reach beyond the limitations of the present. His dream of machines was one of human ambition, but it was also one of human humility. The recognition that we too can be part of something greater than ourselves, something that transcends time, space, and the natural limits of our world. So, as we close the chapter on Amenhotep's extraordinary vision, let us take a moment to reflect on our own dreams, our own aspirations for a better, more efficient, and more connected world. Just as Amenhotep dared to dream of machines that could transform Egypt, we too can dream of a future where technology serves to elevate humanity and bring us closer to our highest potential. And perhaps, like Amenhotep's vision, these dreams will resonate with future generations, leaving behind a legacy that endures long after we are gone. As we reach the conclusion of this journey, through Amenhotep II's dream of machines, we are left with more than just the historical echoes of an ancient king's unfulfilled ambitions. The story we've explored together is not just about the ancient past. It's about the eternal human desire to innovate, to push the boundaries of what is possible, and to imagine a future where technology and humanity coexist in harmony. Amenhotep's vision may have been born in the sands of Egypt thousands of years ago, but it is just as relevant today as we stand on the brink of our own technological revolutions. The truth of Amenhotep's dream is that it was not confined to the limitations of his era. It was a glimpse of the future, a vision of a world where machines work alongside us, and where human ingenuity combines with divine inspiration to create a more efficient, prosperous, and harmonious society. Though his machines may never have come to life in the way he envisioned, the spirit of that dream lives on in the innovations we see today. The machines we build, the systems we create, and the technologies that shape our lives are, in many ways, a continuation of Amenhotep's grand vision, a vision that sought to elevate humanity by blending creativity, technology, and divine purpose. Today, as we look at the incredible advances in artificial intelligence, robotics, and automation, it's impossible not to draw parallels between our world and the one Amenhotep dreamed of. We are now living in a time where machines can perform tasks once thought impossible, machines that can think, learn, and even create art. Just as Amenhotep imagined machines that could help with labor, enhance agriculture, and facilitate divine rituals, we are now witnessing a future where machines have become integral to every aspect of our lives. But Amenhotep's dream was more than just about creating tools. It was about redefining the very nature of existence, about merging the human with the divine through the power of technology. Today, as we grapple with the ethical implications of advanced technologies, we are faced with questions that Amenhotep's dream raises. How much power should we give to machines? What role do they play in our spiritual and social lives? And perhaps most importantly, how do we ensure that technology serves humanity rather than the other way around? The legacy of Amenhotep II lies not just in the machines he might have created, but in the questions his vision raises, questions about the relationship between humanity and technology, about the potential for machines to not only enhance our lives, but to transform our understanding of ourselves. His dream is a call to action for us today, urging us to think beyond the immediate benefits of technology and consider the long-term consequences of our inventions. Amenhotep's machines were not just about making life easier. They were about creating a world where technology could serve a higher purpose, aligning human progress with divine will. As we close this chapter, we must also acknowledge that Amenhotep's vision was not just about machines, it was about vision itself. The power of dreams, the courage to look beyond the present moment and imagine a different world, is what drives all progress. Whether it's a pharaoh dreaming of mechanical wonders, or modern inventors dreaming of artificial intelligence and space exploration, the human desire to imagine a better future is what propels us forward. So as you drift off tonight, think of Amenhotep's dream not just as a king's ambition, but as a reminder of the endless possibilities that lie within each of us. Every new idea, every breakthrough in technology, every dream that seems too radical or too impossible is a step toward a better world. Just as Amenhotep dreamed of machines that could change Egypt, we too have the power to dream big, to innovate, and to shape the world in ways that will resonate for generations to come. The future, like Amenhotep's dream, is full of endless possibilities. And it's up to us to imagine it, create it, and make it real.